Hello and welcome to Shadow Patch Notes, the series where we take the latest patch and discuss all of the hidden tweaks and changes that didn't quite make the spotlight. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost at 5K, and stick around until the end of the video to see how you can win a MISC Razor game package with LTI. The package also comes with a limited edition Stella Fortuna green paint, plus a little added bonus in honor of one of the biggest patches ever. And this patch marks the halfway point of our 12 months or so campaign. We've got a lot to cover this time, and some stuff you definitely don't want to miss. So, let's jump right in. The Origin 85X Copilot turret is finally working properly. They added an interaction prompt in the middle of the dashboard for easy access. For a long time, you had to set a keybind for entering remote turrets if you wanted to use it. In case you were curious, you can find this setting under Vehicles Targeting as Enter Remote Turret. Many people, myself included, didn't even know this turret existed. The QED on the Cutlass Blue was finally fixed as well. Just power it on with your weapon MFD and make sure that the ship is in SCM mode. You'll now see a proper prompt appear on the right side of the center MFD. Have fun, pirates and bounty hunters. Speaking of QEDs, we finally have our answer on how quantum dampeners will work with master modes. QED fields now stop everyone in the area from spooling their drives. That means once the QED is active, you in the jungle, baby! It's time to die! Just make sure you have backup, because that trap works both ways after all. A string of bright signal lights were added to the Area 18 Spaceport, providing some much needed guidance in the cloudy skies and darkness of night. You can take off your helmet instantly by pressing Alt-H. This allows you to eat and drink quickly without worrying about menus or inventory space. This action is actually you placing the helmet on your hip, although no proper animation exists for it yet. You can also put on a new helmet while the old one is still attached to your waist. The new EVA system is in, and comes with fuel and oxygen limits. You can refill these by removing your helmet indoors. The new level of detail improvements allow space stations and planets to become visible at super far distances. While looking for Jumptown, I was able to find it pretty early thanks to this. The new character creator is here, and people have been crafting some absolute abominations as you can imagine. Others have been trying their hand at faithfully recreating some popular characters or celebrities. You can find an awesome array of characters to download and import from this website here, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. To import a character, just right-click your launcher and open File Location. From your Star Citizen folder, click on your Live folder, then click User, Client 0, and you will see the Custom Characters folder. Simply open this up and drag your file in here. Now you're ready to roll. Upscaling is finally in, with support for both NVIDIA DLSS and AMD's FSR. These showed some modest improvements to FPS in my experience. 323 also saw the first integration of the Vulkan renderer into the live build. It's not in its full glory just yet, but it is interesting to check out nonetheless. I actually managed to see an improvement with Vulkan and DLSS both turned on, but the results will vary by build. Regardless of what you choose to do with graphics settings in this patch, be sure to check and download the latest drivers for your GPU. When jumping into this patch, I highly recommend you turn off all forms of camera shake, especially if you have any kind of upscaling on like DLSS. This will help mitigate some of the artifacting since your HUD won't be shaking around as much. The MISC Freelancer got some much needed love this patch. It has physicalized components now. It also received updated doors and some sleek blue baseboard lights. The prompt for opening the ramp is now located at the far end of the ramp, so you won't accidentally open it while entering the turret anymore. Lastly, the Freelancer now has 3 size 2 shields, a nice boost for its survivability. The Golden Boy Gladius received some awesome new sound effects for its thrusters. Just listen to this. The RSI Constellation now comes with 4 Galderines stock. The weapons are moved from the bottom of the lower thrusters to the top. You can now put 4 size 5 ballistics on here if you'd like. Now if you take a close look at the ballistics here, you'll notice my next point. All ballistic ship weapons had their ammo count adjusted. The ammo counts on the 85Bs went down from 2600 to 1800. Smaller ballistic weapons seem to have had their ammo counts increased, such as the size 4 Revenant Gatlings having 2000 shots. The Ares Inferno has 3600 rounds, with an all-new cooldown mechanic. You can shoot as much as you want, as long as you don't let the meter fill all the way. If you do, you won't be able to fire again until it empties. The classically controversial Ares Ion got a nice rework too. The cannon now has a capacitor of 20 or 30 shots at max, and it now has a charge-up mechanic. A full charge can kill a full health light fighter in one hit. A light fighter can survive the one shot with full power to shields though. The power of the uncharged shots were weakened however. Definitely a great change overall, as it can now deal much more damage to large ships than before. As mentioned in a previous video on the channel, the Cutlass Black received a much needed improvement to its tractor beam placement. The tractor beam is now located inside the bay, and gives a nice 180-degree view into the bay and out the back of the ship. The beam moves on a track, and will come out when you power on the turret. It also appears that all tractor beam turrets received an upgraded UI, and a nice compass going across the screen to help you get your bearings. Now let's see the Caterpillar get some love next, please. The Cutlass also got an update to its default loadout. It now comes with 2 Panthers and 2 Mantis, as well as some new thruster animations. Reputation-based hostility is on the docket for this patch. And now that the patch is finally out and we can progress, I'm curious to see just how deep this goes. Turrets were added to Grimhex for the first time in this patch, so I can only imagine that means something. The next time you meet an unfortunate death, check out the updated medical gown. It comes complete with the first implementation of Starcloth.
Starcloth is Starcloth. Starcloth interact with the cloth. And I'm going to show you
Starcloth.
If you have any clothy armor or clothing, be sure to check them out. Also, the medical clinic inventory is no more. Thanks to the item banks existing but not existing, you'll no longer have to be in the medical bay to get your sperm suit. On that note, item bank kiosks are in, and they are everywhere. The magic I button inventory will be going away next patch, so these will be how you access your gear. I really like the environmental touches they added to the ones at Grimhex too. Interestingly enough though, these were nowhere to be found at Jumptown. What a huge tragedy for all ludicrous space adventures. Ladies and gentlemen, the new STARMAP is here, and it has a lot of amazing improvements. Most notably, this incredible search function. You can type where you want to go, and the system will autofill it for you. Then you set your route, and it will map every jump necessary for you to make it there. For example, when going to Grimhex, it will already have a course set to Crusader, then Yella, then Grim. All you have to do is point and jump at each stop. No need to reopen the map and do each step. The star map also shows the light and dark side of planets, handy for planning ahead of time. The quantum travel icons were also updated, and should help you find your target location faster. While in a ship, you can swap between decks on the map by pressing Q and E, and when looking at a local map, you can swap map sections by pressing Shift Q and E. You can also make custom markers. Just pull up your local map and press T. Then you can name it and set a route. This only works for interior maps, like the ones for cities and stations, and you can't share the markers with others just yet. Amenities are shown on the star map, and you can route a course to them as well. It's almost like we're playing an actual video game, guys. So once you follow your map and get to the hangars, you'll notice the moment you hop in your cockpit that Master Modes is here in full force. Here's a quick summary of the most important things you need to know before jumping in. We now have 2 modes, SCM or Combat Mode, and Nav or Travel Mode. You can press B to switch between the modes. You cannot fly at max speed unless you are in Nav mode, and you cannot shoot or have shields up unless you are in SCM mode. In Nav mode, you will immediately notice that you will have a million quantum markers all over your screen. But don't worry, just press your middle mouse button to hide all the markers and enter a general travel mode. And be advised, the button to quantum jump has been changed to holding left click. If you have your landing gear down, you cannot fly above 30 kilometers per second or so. According to Yogi, there will be an option to change this in the future. Another cool addition with Master Modes is the gravity compensation feature. Thanks to this, you will no longer fall downwards when decoupled in atmosphere. This is turned on by default, but can be switched off with a keybind. Traditional cruise control is gone. You cannot leave the pilot seat when in flight, or your ship will decelerate. You can, however, pin your speed once you've reached a speed that you're happy with. But leaving the pilot seat will cause the ship to decelerate. There is a keybind to make this work though, under Sticky Throttle Cruise Control. The binds you need to set are Throttle Trim Set to lock your speed, then Throttle Trim Release to release the lock speed. The new player experience is available in every city now. Lorville and Orison were included in this patch. And it must be a miracle. We finally got a second terminal at the New Deal in Lorville. The water sim is here. Fly low to the surface of the water and you'll see some beautiful wakes appear. I really love how they got each thruster from your ship to dynamically affect the water. You can also shoot the water and see ripples from the bullets. You can dip your wings in the water freely as you fly now. Fully submerging will still blow you up, but if you're feeling froggy, you can get a good amount of your ship under the surface for some hilarious nautical nonsense. We're taking on water! Oh, it's the high sea! Somebody get a bucket! Before they patched it, the A2 made for quite the spectacle in the water. I hope they bring this back with some improved VFX, because it was awesome. The EMP damage output on the Vanguard Sentinel and Scorpius Antares were increased from 2,750 to 3,300, and the EMP on the Saber Raven got a huge buff from 2,700 to 5,500. Let's see how this plays out for them. Now over on the FPS side of things, we received some 315 levels of improvements here. Just an immediate tip for you, you have to press 1 to pull out your gun before you can press R to pull it out. This almost got me killed. The all new looting UI is here, and boy does it make combat a lot smoother. Swapping armor is just a click away, and swapping a core will automatically swap all of your mags and consumables onto the new piece. Any spillover will be moved into your backpack or chest piece. In the looting screen, items auto stack when going into your bag. I can't believe my eyes. When you hover over a weapon, these white dots here will appear over any item that is compatible with that weapon. The new combat visor and dynamic crosshair are in. They move with the barrel of your gun, and are only active on combat helmets. I'm not a huge fan of crosshairs or hit markers, but I can live with it. What I really can't stand, however, and I want this guy to hear this too, is the red kill confirmation marker. This is less than ideal for a whole lot of reasons, but I'll let you hear the point straight from Yogi's mouth.
But this is just me, because for me that just breaks immersion, right?
Yeah, it does.
I like the feeling of not knowing what is actually happening. You know, there were some first-person shooters, right, with no hit markers, and you fired at somebody, and the enemy would be knocked over, and they're falling behind the desk, right? And it's like, is he dead? Or is he not dead?
Yeah,
so you go there, and the guy is gone, right? I like that, right? I like that you actually have to work with that kind of like imperfect knowledge what's going to happen, because it also makes for interesting decision making. You cannot overdo it, of course, right? You need to have valid cues everywhere in the world so that you can actually make meaningful decision making. But not knowing everything should be part of the game as well.
Backpack reloading gives you the ability to use mags from your backpack at the cost of a longer reload time. This icon on the bottom right of the HUD indicates that you are out of available mags, and your next reload will be from the bag. You can also repool all of your ammo into mags by pressing Alt-1. This will do the same animation as a backpack reload, and the time it takes will vary depending on how much ammo is being moved. You can now reload cancel in a much more natural way by sprinting. Fun fact, you are actually always able to reload cancel by simply pressing middle mouse to do a quick melee. However, this new action is much more natural to players, as it's used in many other games. Very useful for weapons like LMGs. Sniper Scope Glint is in the game for high-powered scopes. Perfect for spotting rats hiding out at Jumptown. Now, before you get your panties in a bunch, I want to point out a few things. First off, the angle is extremely small. You're only going to see this if the shooter is pointing directly at you and aiming down the sight. Secondly, keep in mind, this is more than likely a temporary solution, until we can get better systems like FPS scanning in our hands. Overall, I'm okay with this change. A few more FPS changes to note. Scopes and sights no longer have a blinding reflection for the user. Optics increase ADS time across the board, with higher optics resulting in longer times. 8x scopes and above are the ones that have the glint. The optic zoom was returned to a lot of the lower powered scopes. Underbarrel laser pointers will reduce your weapon spread by 12.5%. I saw some people complain about this, but literally all good shooters do this, even Escape from Tarkov, and that's about as hardcore as it gets. Procedural ADS animations were added to all weapons. This looks very crispy in my opinion, and I noticed it right away. A pretty big change is that FPS weapons will no longer cause staggers, a big hit to the P6LR in particular. Snipers have more drastic projectile drop to make zeroing a necessity at range, and auto-zeroing was completely removed, and ranges were adjusted. Ore bags are now purchasable at cargo decks. I'm looking forward to seeing how this interacts with cargo elevators in the next patch. Will we have to place ore bags on the elevator to refine? We'll have to wait and see. Extra commodity terminals were added outside of the admin office, likely in preparation for the new Blockade Runner event. Industrial ships, such as the Argo Mole, received some tuning for master modes, and I can't imagine they fall into the buffs category. After all these years, we finally have our first creatures in Star Citizen. Meet the Copian and the Marok. You can find them most consistently on Microtech near outposts or derelict sites like Ghost Hollow. They are even found inside caves. These creatures also come alongside gameplay in the form of extermination missions, where you have to kill or collect resources from them. Interestingly enough, the descriptions hint at possible crafting possibilities, with the Copian horn being used for bone reconstruction and the Marok gizzard being used as a conductor in microchips. You can even put these puppies on your ship and take them home. Just make sure your ship has a wall between you and your cargo space. After many years of being exactly the same, laser repeaters finally have different stats. The Cutlass Steel received a massive buff to bring it in line with other dropships, most notably almost doubling its HP. A medical rescue light was added to the game. While it's pretty cool looking, this thing is about as useful as a Cutlass red turret. 2 ship weapons received some insane buffs this patch, putting them into meta territory. The Singes, found on alien ships such as the Bonner Defender, were buffed and given a sweet charge mechanic. Mass drivers are also insane now, and act as high-power sniper shots. You can put 8 of these on the FAC. Do with that information what you will. The new player interaction makes things so much smoother across the board. A cool thing I noticed is that when holding an item, you can just left-click to place it on a surface. Distribution centers are in, and come with a bunch of new missions. I took a Merc contract and it brought me straight to an outdoor refinery area. The AI now have a much more diverse pool of loadout items, and it showed right away. I came armed only with an FS9 with no iron sights, but luckily one of the first NPCs I killed had an arrowhead sniper with a scope. Using his gun, I managed to pick off the remainder of the NPCs from afar in the cloak of night. By the way, the arrowhead sniper no longer has a violent shake when charging. It was a really cool and refreshing experience. I'm looking forward to seeing how the new cargo missions will integrate with these locations, as I'm sure that they will make them feel even more alive. As for these refineries, they don't currently function as far as I can tell. Hopefully we see these come online as an additional option, although I wouldn't see the benefit over just going to a space station. AI interactions do appear to be working better. I've seen the AI reviving each other. These combination locked lockers were spotted at Distro Centers. Not sure what their purpose is. Perhaps future investigation missions? Let me know in the comments what you think. We had some major changes to Salvage, and they're pretty much all much needed nerfs. RMC prices were raised to about 15k, but construction materials were nerfed all the way to 1.5k. This was clearly a band-aid fix for the Reclaimer, but it definitely hurts the Vulture in a disproportionate way. The illegal cover-up salvage mission reward was reduced to around 30k instead of the 250k from before. Pour one out for the SRV pilots out there. RMC and construction materials have a unique box art now. Hopefully we get separate ones for each in the future. Cargo runs of RMC are no longer highly profitable, as cities no longer pay more than it's sold for due to the price change. The Mobiglass received a huge overhaul, and some sweet new audio when opening it up. You can see your ship info on the Mobiglass, even after you exit it, and it will show you the distance to your ship and its status, such as guns, fuel, etc. There is a listing for multiple ships here too. Just click the drop down and switch between ships. A sleek new UI was added to the weapon customization mode. Gravlet vehicles were tweaked to make them less detectable by bunkers. You can now ride your Dragonflies safely to the front door of your mercenary contracts. As long as you're quick enough, of course. VoIP was added to Arena Commander, so you can finally talk smack to your opponents. You bitch! The Pirate Swarm Javelin in Arena Commander has been replaced with a massive Bengal carrier. It's truly a sight to behold. Ship combat AI was improved significantly, using new logic based on player behavioral data gathered from dogfights. Hopefully now those bounties will be a bit more intense, at least on a good server. The Xenothreat Idris underwent a huge criminal makeover for its interior. I'm really looking forward to what the team has cooked up for this new version of the event, since they dropped some awesome teases during the ISE. Engineering gameplay has arrived in Arena Commander. Whatever you do, do not remove the fuses in the neck of the ship. I'm personally waiting for this mode to mature a bit before diving in, as I already know this entire system will change a lot by the time it hits the PU. But I do hear the shipboarding experiences are a blast in this mode. You can do precision targeting in the engineering mode by pressing G. With this, you'll be able to target specific components on the Hercules or Gladius, Some huge economy changes are here, courtesy of Suspender Man himself. Gun prices increased slightly, and ship prices went way up. We're talking 24 mil for a C2. And just in time for these price hikes, the following ships are available for purchase in-game. The Lynx Rover, the Hull C, the Spirit A1 and C1, the Cutter Scout and Rambler, the Gatak Sulin, the Argo SRV, the Storm and the Storm AA, the Santok Yai, and all of the X1s. And it's official, the Nursa Rover is coming soon. If you've completed all 5 phases of Overdrive, be sure to accept a mission in-game called Overdrive Initiative Reward, and you'll be granted your upgrade. Keep in mind, you still have to participate in the Xenothreat main event in order to receive the medium Xenothreat armor reward. And of course, we have the Replication Layer here in full swing. This glorious piece of tech should mark the end of the dreaded 30k, just as long as you're patient enough to wait out the server transfer. This is a huge step forward for server tech, and when you factor in the mostly successful server meshing live test performed recently, a 4.0 launch this year is starting to seem more and more believable. Now, some of you eagle-eyed citizens out there may have noticed the omission of persistent hangers and all the features that were to come with it. It was an unfortunate delay, but it looks like we won't have to wait long for them after all. I'm gonna be honest guys, I have no problem with this delay at all. The patch was already so juiced up with new content, and I'd rather us have something substantial in the .x patch to sink our teeth into, instead of a total nothing burger like 3.22.1 was. Also coming in the .x patch is ship modularity, with the Retaliator being the first in line. So with all that, the rest of this year is shaping up to be a great one. This was a big patch, and I'm sure I missed some things, so be sure to let me know down in the comments if there's anything you figured out. Oh yeah, and one more thing. So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that 3.23 is one hell of a patch. That there's plenty more goodies to come before, during, and after the big Invictus launch week in May. And that you can catch the 5-star live on Twitch as soon as this video airs, where he'll be giving away a Drake Cutter Rambler game package to celebrate the new patch launch, as well as putting the Stella Fortuna Razor up for grabs. For all your Shadow Patch Notes news, I'm Jared Huckabee's clone, and we'll see you all next patch.